Hi, Books in
Hi.
Focus. Thank you so much
Hello.
for joining us. So we are talking about books coming out in the month of January. So we have some definite going to be bestsellers. The first up is The Devil's Ransom by Brad Taylor. It's number 17 in the Pike Logan series. Pike is on a new mission to help evacuate a man from Afghanistan when a massive ransomware attack hits not only his company but other intelligence agencies across the world. What he doesn't know is that this is only a test run in this new action-packed contemporary thriller. Next one is The Cabinet of Dr. Lang. It is the 21st installment of the Agent Pendergast series. We see our protagonists match wits with Manhattan's most infamous serial killer in this well-plotted time travel adventure. The next one is The Bullet Garden by Stephen Hunter. It is a historical spy thriller. Got all the words out at once. Set in July 1944 in Normandy, because there was nothing going on during that time in that place. Nothing at all. SS snipers are picking off scores of Allied troops as they advance, and Eisenhower wants the best shot in the army to counter the threat. And our hero is called into action. Next we have Exiles by Jane Harper. This is number 3 in the Aaron Falk series. Aaron finds himself pulled into investigating 2 mysterious crimes in a backwater town in Australia. Seemingly these crimes are not connected, but things seem out of place. The town is idyllic, but it hides a darkness in this well-plotted mystery that will, and I'm reading from the descriptions here, keep you on your toes with all of its twists and turns. Then we have Sleep No More by Jane Ann Krentz. This is the first in a new romantic suspense trilogy. One night changes the lives of 3 women forever, but they can't remember what happened. Together they must put together the pieces to discover what happened. Then we have Without a Trace by Danielle Steele. So here's a question for you. What would you do if you were given the chance to walk away from everything in your life, all of the things that you don't like, and you get to completely start over clean slate? What would you do?
Probably make the same mistakes I did in the first.
Yeah, well, let's say we'll find out what happens to Danielle's characters in her exciting new novel, which answers that question. I would love to know if that is, in fact, the plot now. And then we have The House at the End of the World by Dean Koontz. This is an atmospheric new novel that sees a young woman in an epic battle of wits with a mysterious unnamed enemy on a remote island. It's described with an omnipresent menace that hangs over everything as the stakes climb higher and higher. And then we have The Shards by Bret Easton Ellis. It is an action-packed novel that follows a group of privileged LA high school students as a serial killer strikes across the city.
Some new nonfiction we want to talk about as well. Maybe you've heard of Prince Harry before, or maybe this is probably already on your radar, but Spare's coming out. Prince Harry's going to write about the personal impact of the death of his mother and memories from when he was a boy and how his life has gone since. Maybe you all have heard of Brett Metzlinger. He's got a new one out called The Nazi Conspiracy. Nazi plot to assassinate the heads of state of the 3 major Allied powers, FDR, Stalin, and Churchill, at their first meeting in Tehran, Iran. The Matter of Everything. It's going to be about an accelerator physicist highlighting 12 landmark physics experiments that changed the course of history, including the discovery of the X-ray and the race to split the atom. Flora MacDonald's Pretty Young Rebel by Flora Fraser is a biography of a young Scotswoman who aided Prince Charles Edward Stuart's claimant to the British throne escape after his 1746 defeat at the Battle of Culloden. Apparently, this famous incident inspired and influenced countless novels, poems, and songs. Patrick wrote that in parentheses. I don't know if it was supposed to be like a hint or something.
Yeah,
Note to self.
Outlander is the one the main one.
Okay,
Yes.
so the inspiration behind, rumored to be the inspiration behind the Outlander series. There you go. Tracy Kidder, also a library fave, has Rough Sleepers coming out. Powerful story of an inspiring doctor, Dr. Jim O'Connell, who helped create a program to care for the homeless community in Boston. In the Garden of the Righteous, I think we've discussed Richard Horowitz before, profiling 10 courageous individuals who risked their lives to save Jews from the Holocaust. Charles Whipple's newest one focuses on a journalist detailing the first 2 years of the Biden administration. And Master Slave Husband-Wife is the true story of a young enslaved couple whose plot to freedom involves her pretending to be a disabled white man and he pretending to be her slave. So definitely a great variety of new nonfiction coming out in January. I have the first Books in Focus title we're going to talk more in depth about. It's the newest one from Mary Kubrick, who is known for suspenseful, twisty, engaging stories with interesting characters. Just the Nicest Couple is her new title. And one of the main characters, Jake Hayes, goes missing. Right away, this we know right off the bat, that's not a spoiler. At first, his wife thinks he's hiding. They've had a bit of a fight, and she thinks he's, still mad at her, just hiding out. But as days go by, and texts go unanswered, and calls go unscreened, and no response and nothing, she's really starting to worry and fret and everything. So she wants to know where her husband has gone. So Nina's coworker may have been the last person to see Jake alive. And as she finds out that Nina's investigating her missing husband, the coworker talks to her husband and said, well, I saw him doing this. And apparently the husband talks her out of sharing her story. So it'll be told from dueling perspectives, and we're gonna get to know what's going on before Nina does, I think. And it should be an interesting suspense coming out with some interesting characters. I have Rita Likes. This is the Other Mrs., Mary Kubrick's latest title. She always writes about usually couple, family, drama, suspense. She is known to have good twists, unpredictable endings though. But it made me think of Greer Hendricks and Sarah Penniman, who I've read some of theirs. They also write largely about suspense within family or couple dynamics. So those are some great titles to check out while you're waiting for Just the Nicest Couple. I go backwards for some reason. I don't know why exactly. You are up. Turn one way or something. This is one apparently.
Okay. Next title is The Game is a Footnote by Vicki Delaney. It's a mystery selection. It's the 8th book in the Sherlock Holmes Bookshop Mystery Series, set in West London, Massachusetts, and featuring bookstore owner Gemma Doyle and her friend Jane Wilson. In this latest book, the two women are asked to investigate ghost-like activity at an historical reenactment museum, and the situation escalates when they discover a dead body on the property. Library Journal says, this entertaining Sherlock Holmes pastiche will appeal to fans of quirky characters and bookstore settings. And the Rita Likes chosen to go with this are also cozy mysteries with bookish characters. Word to the Wise by Jen McKinley. That's part of the Library Lovers Mystery Series about a library director who, with the help of her crafternoon friends, solves murders in Connecticut. And The Book Stops Here by Kate Carlisle, book number 8 in the Bibliophile Mystery Series, about a rare book expert solving murders in San Francisco.
Small World is Laura Zimmerman's latest. I brought with me her previous one, Separation Anxiety. anyone I know who's read this really enjoyed the quirky character and funny and relatable style of it. And I'm looking forward to her newest one, Small World. A year after Joyce, one of the main characters, divorced, she's doing pretty well. She's getting along, she's dating, she likes her job, she's got a new secret hobby. Her new secret hobby is investigating the neighborhood's social networking site, which is called Small World. And she gets information, she gets lawn care tips, and she gets the gossip all on this website, right? So her sister Lydia calls. Lydia's newly divorced and wants to move back east, closer to family. It's been 30 years since they've lived together, but Joyce invites her to stay for a while she looks for a place. The two are looking forward to having some bonding time again, but are surprised that the only thing they're agreeing on anymore is how annoying the neighbors are. They eventually delve into family topics from the past, and hopefully they will reconnect over shared memories. It's a powerful novel of family and hope with a witty sense of humor. Should be entertaining and emotional. The author lives in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and it made me think of this new fiction pick. The Frederick sisters are living the dream. Now these two sisters aren't living together, but they are going through similar drama where they're having a problem from their past present itself in their present, and they're having to solve it. And I think they've lost one of their sisters too, so there's added emotional height and awareness, but this one also is supposed to have some laugh out loud funny moments to connect with. Maybe a good Christmas thing, you know, it's something
With all your family here, right?
yeah, when you're worried about your family, put things in perspectives and you get those, you know, candid laugh out loud moments. A little bit of relief. I mean, not this one, obviously. I guess they're January ones. That's pretty creepy.
The story was interesting, but yeah, the
What
cover.
the hell was that picture?
It's a rabbit.
Looks like a skin rabbit.
I'd say wet, maybe?
Or wet rabbit.
Wet, we're gonna go with wet rabbit.
Let's go with wet rabbit, yeah.
Wet rabbit. Sorry.
Lovely.
They're all in
Not a
my
fun,
yard.
she's a popular author.
They're all
I
in
don't
my
know
yard.
why.
You can come look in.
I've got old school.
Our next selection is Hellbent, a Fantasy by Lee Bardugo. This is the sequel to Ninth House from 2019, which mixed dark magic with the Ivy League. The main character, Alex Stern, is a young woman with a traumatic past who mysteriously is offered a full ride to Yale. The catch being, she has to monitor the activities of the university's secret societies. In Hellbent, Alex has begun her second year at Yale, and she has to break the rules in order to break her mentor out of purgatory. This novel brings to life an intricate world full of magic, violence, and all too real monsters. So Rita likes Ninth House, of course, which is the first one, and in the series, and then also the Atlas Six by Olivia Blake. 6 magicians are given a year to compete against one another for entry into a secret society. So it also has dark academia, young protagonists, and secret societies.
I think that picture is horrible. That turns me off right away. I wouldn't wanna read it.
Oh, it's an interesting choice, right?
Reminds me of those awful little Mexican girls, Chihuahua things. Rat dogs.
Is this me?
Yep.
I'm Patrick today.
Yeah.
Kind of flying by the seat of my pants here, but which I don't mind. But if you guys are thinking, man, she usually talks way more than that. That's because I just had Patrick's notes. He's so concise and, yeah, anyway. This selection is The Skeleton Key by Erin Kelly. It's another mystery. This is a mystery that was inspired by the author's love for the children's book Masquerade by Kit Williams, which was a picture book that held clues to the location of an actual golden hair the author had hidden somewhere in Britain. In The Skeleton Key, Neville's father has similarly written a book that inspired a cult following of treasure hunters. The book is called The Golden Bones and contained clues to find real golden bones hidden across England. Neil has become a recluse due to the craze the book caused. Now, on the book's 50th anniversary, her father has decided to reveal the location of the one bone that was never found. But along with the discovery of the bones comes the discovery of a dead body to make it a true mystery. The Skeleton Key is described as an eerie, beautifully plotted book with monstrous but believable characters. Aaron Kelly also wrote the Broadchurch Mystery Series. For read-alikes, The Cartographers by Peg Shepard. A young woman's estranged father is found dead with what turns out to be an extremely valuable map hidden in his desk. And Ruth Ware's The It Girl. A woman has to solve a mystery around her best friend's death after the man convicted of killing her is exonerated.
The Cartographers was a good book.
Was it? Yeah, it sounds like a good one.
That sounds good. Try it on my list for a while. I like that one.
Now that's cute.
That's more agreeable, huh?
That's for a cover.
Oh, the kitty.
Of course. So, Love Clancy by W. Bruce Cameron is a feel-good family fiction. It's written from the perspective of Clancy, the dog. Cameron introduces you to a new cast of unique characters in his signature heartwarming style, in paying homage to dogs and dog lovers everywhere. You may know him from his first bestseller, which was A Dog's Purpose, which is the remarkable story of one dog's endeavoring search for his purpose over the course of several lives. And then the other book I have, because truthfully, I'm a cat person. I like dogs, they just don't like me back, and I get it, but it's a thing. This is actually a true story of Dewey, the small town library cat. So this is a nonfiction title. It is the story of Dewey, who sadly was abandoned at only a few weeks old in a library return slot in the Spencer Public Library. He was found by the library's director, Vicki Mayron, and it's his story of becoming their library cat. He helps actually save the library among a variety of other things and touching a lot of lives. So it's a very warm, heartwarming story. Great for the holidays.
Very good book.
Yeah. I agree.
Oh, question.
Yes.
The new book, it's not written as if the dog wrote it, is it?
Yes, it is my understanding it's from the perspective of the dog.
Miranda, I'll tip you.
Okay.
I'm getting all kinds of remarks that I should take.
Oh, yes.
Thank
You
you.
should add one in the book.
It looks like my second, so I'm already in love. Okay.
Alright. The next book we have is Sam by Allegra Goodman. It is a literary fiction title. It looks to answer the question, what happens to a girl's exuberance and wonder as she becomes a woman? Sam is an unforgettable portrait of a coming-of-age story that offers a powerful reflection on class, addiction, parenthood, longing, and ambition. This beautifully written novel will both break your heart and leave you with hope as it answers the question as to what happens to girls as they grow. So the first read-alike I have is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens, with similar themes around class, longing, ambition, and coming of age. This thought-provoking story looks at how isolation influences the behavior of a young woman. If you are interested in the actual print book, good luck. It has been on hold forever. But we do have this lovely audiobook.
Right there.
And then the other one that I have is What the Fireflies Knew by Kai Harris. It is a coming-of-age story from the perspective of an 11-year-old who is trying to make sense of her new life with her grandfather after her overwhelmed mother sends her and her sister away after their father disappears. It is also a thought-provoking and emotional story.
Next, we have in the thriller category, Code 6 by James Grappando. Kate Gamble is a law student and aspiring playwright who has written a play about the dark side of big data, based largely on her knowledge of her father's company, Buck Technologies, a powerful IT company that does work for the Pentagon and the CIA. Despite the betrayal it will be to her father, whom she loves, she is determined to tell the true story. Meanwhile, a childhood friend who works for her father's company is kidnapped, and the kidnappers are demanding as ransom a secret and deadly technology developed by the company called Code 6. Booklist describes Code 6 as a complex thriller with compelling characters that delivers a deeply satisfying conclusion. Read alikes for this may be The Circle by Dave Eggers, a suspenseful novel that explores the dark side of the tech world. The main character is also a young woman who is given the opportunity to work for the world's most powerful internet company. And a new one by Lincoln Child, Chrysalis. This is a thriller centered around a tech company and their revolutionary virtual reality technology that could have devastating consequences.
So, The Motion Picture Teller is a standalone mystery. It's set in 1996 Thailand. Our main character is a postman and he hates his job. His one enjoyment is watching classic movies with his best friends. The guys love old westerns, particularly the actresses from them, and they really complain about modern Thai cinema. One day, a mysterious video called Bangkok 2010 arrives at their local video store. Bangkok 2010 is a dystopian film set in 2010, so the future based on when the book is. And the main characters agree it's the best movie they've ever seen. It's the best Thai movie they've ever seen. They're raving about it, they're talking about it, they're asking questions to their friends and coworkers about it. Nobody has heard of it or seen the movie. So using clues from the movie, and the movie fans set out to find out more about the movie, the unknown movie makers, and eventually the people trying to keep it a secret. The author I'm not familiar with, but he was born and raised in London, studied and became a teacher, ended up living in Thailand, and now he works for nonprofits to help protect children. So sounds like an interesting guy. And he at least lives in the area, so that always gives an extra nuanced set of setting. Read alikes for this, I picked Interior Chinatown. It's sort of based on movie making from an immigrant perspective. It has some funny moments. And then also from The New Shelf by Ling Ma. This Bliss Montage is an outlandish short story collection filled with mystery and heart. Father's House. Guessing it might be Patrick.
Hello.
Is this thing on? My Father's House by Joseph O'Connor is historical fiction. This is the first in a new trilogy. The book is set in 1943 Rome as diplomats, refugees, and escaped Allied prisoners are fleeing to Vatican City for protection. The main character is Monsignor Hugh O'Flaherty, a real-life Irish priest, who risked his life to help smuggle thousands of people out of Italy while Rome was occupied by the Nazis. It's been described as deeply emotional and riveting, and although it is suspenseful, it's not told in a typical thriller style, emphasizing action over language. 2 more books based on true stories of people taking risks to rescue Jews from the Nazis are the read-alikes. The Opera Sisters by Marion Mace Monson. This is about the Cook sisters who smuggled valuables out of Germany during trips to the German opera houses to help finance Jewish escapes. And The Paris Children by Gloria Goldreich, about young Madeleine Levy who helped Jewish children throughout France escape the impending Nazi threat.
There's a movie based on Flattery. Wish I could remember the name of it. Frederick Pratt played O'Flaherty.
Oh, well, I'll look it up. I can sit down. This next one's mine too. This is where I was before.
No, I'm talking about the character in the book.
Oh,
It's
okay.
Flattery. And the story's a real person.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Next we have, in the horror category, How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. This is set in present-day Charleston, South Carolina, which sets a tone already, right? 2 estranged siblings become the owners of a haunted house after their parents die in a suspicious car accident. Brother and sister both are in need of money and are determined to sell the house as quickly as possible. But before they died, their parents take newspaper over the mirrors and nail the attic door shut. Notably, the house is also inhabited by hundreds of dolls that their mother collected, including her favorite pumpkin, the one the daughter hated the most. Hendrix skillfully balances complete creep-outs and moments of outright hilarity. So that's an interesting set of descriptors for a book, right? 2 more haunted house tales. Nothing But Blackened Teeth by Cassandra Kaw. This is thrill-seeking friends spend the night in an old abandoned Japanese mansion in which lurks a ghost bride with a black smile. And The Invited by Jennifer McMahon, about a husband and wife who unknowingly build a haunted house, not realizing it until it's too late.
Okay, I looked it up, it's The Scarlet and the Black,
Yep,
and it was done in 1983.
yep, I remember it now.
Henderson Gregory.
That was the, yeah, that was the, my father's house.
It's a good movie.
So, let's say The Age of Vice by Dietrich Kupor is a crime fiction. It is equal parts crime thriller and family saga. It is a fast-paced and intoxicating novel that will transport readers from the dusty villages of Uttar Pradesh to the urban streets of New Delhi as it explores what life is like for gangsters, false friendships, forbidden romances, and the consequences of corruption. My first thought for read-alike was the original The Godfather by Mario Puzo. Thank you. I don't know why I always want to add extra letters in there. It is, of course, the epic tale of the Corleone crime family and a searing portrait of the mafia underground. I'm sure you were all already familiar with it. And then the other read-alike I have is Welcome to the Game by Craig Henderson. It has similar themes around gangsters and corruption. Our protagonist is Spencer, who has moved his family from England to Detroit in order to open a foreign car dealership. This dream, however, is derailed when his wife passes away suddenly. Everything else changes when Spencer meets a charismatic but seemingly unknown gangster named Dominic McGarth, as the two men match wits in this high-octane read that will keep you invested until the end. And that one's also me. Alright. So, a fashionable fatality is number 8 in the Lady and Lady's Maid Mysteries by Alyssa Maxwell. It is a historically cozy novel, mystery set in England just after the First World War. Our protagonist, Lady Phoebe, and her faithful maid, Eva, are enjoying a small gathering at the home of Phoebe's sister, Julia, when it becomes a large and rather glamorous affair with the likes of Coco Chanel showing up. The tension at the party begins to boil over when Phoebe is insulted that Coco Chanel does not like her ensemble. And then one of the guests is found dead. Lady Phoebe and Eva are determined to untangle this mystery full of twists and turns and in fabulous style. The first read-alike I have is actually the previous one, so you can catch up on it. Number 7, it's I touched the right book. A Deadly Endowment, which finds our protagonist hunting a killer after they decide to open the Foxwood Hunting Hall for guided tours. And then the other book I have is another Alyssa Maxwell title. It is the first in her Gilded Newport mystery series. It's set in Newport, Rhode Island in 1895. Our protagonist is Emma Cross, and she has been invited to a grand ball at one of the Vanderbilt summer homes. She is there to report on the events for a local paper when her brother is blamed for the murder of Vanderbilt's finance secretary, and she will not stop at nothing to prove his innocence.
What's the title of that one? We can't read it from this angle.
Oh, sorry.
We can't read through you, right?
It's A Deadly Endowment and Murder at the Breakers. Sorry. You mean you can't see through me?
We're not transparent today.
I've been trying so hard. Say. It's unfortunate when it happens when you eat food. You stay rather solid. Always the one for me.
Okay, don't let the cherry lemons fool you. This promises to be a gothic suspense. The villa is set in an Italian villa. Main characters Emily and Chess were inseparable as children, but the demands of adult life have separated them. They decide to take a girls' trip to Italy. They're very excited. They find a beautiful villa online. They take off for sunny shores. While they're there, they learn more about what happened previously in the villa. Apparently, the rumor is a rock star had stayed there in the summer of 1974, and that summer, too much sex, drugs, and rock and roll ended in murder. As the women learn more about the town and the villa and the previous rumors and the previous occupants, they become more and more entangled and find out more truths. These books are similarly set in settings that are not what they seem and have location-based mysteries to unfurl. Of note, Rachel Hawkins said the villa was inspired by Fleetwood Mac, the Manson murders, and the summer that Percy and Mary Shelley spent in Lake Geneva's castle, which was the birthplace of Frankenstein. So lots of lovely references on that one. Every time I kind of find myself gravitating towards one title, and this one really stands out to me. The Bandit Queens is a debut novel, and let's see here. Let me do it justice, because I wrote a nice little spiel. A young Indian woman has rumors running amok that she's killed her husband, and the rumors are surprisingly useful. No one messes with her, no other men are pursuing her, and she's not really questioned about her personal business, which is a successful jewelry shop. All's going great until the other women of the town start to ask her how to get rid of their husbands. Gita, the accused widow, our main character, and her dangerous reputation has become a double-edged sword and attempts to protect her own life and her business and everything that she's built sets into motion a chain of events that will change not just Gita's life, but a lot of people in the village. It's got clever criminals, it's got second chances, memorable characters, some laugh out loud funny, and lots of heart. So read-alikes for me were anxious people. This also was interesting, funny, unexpectedly funny characters and a unique, can't believe you found yourself in this kind of situation. And also off the new shelf, The Fortunes of Jaded Women also has a sort of small town drama going on, sisters dealing with a family curse.
Okay, in the fantasy category, we have Vampire Weekend by Mike Chen. Vampire Weekend is a thoughtful and humorous love letter to the power of music. The main character is a Chinese-American musician vampire who works as a hospital janitor for easy access to blood. When she connects with a grieving distant cousin who is not a vampire but has a similar passion for music, her own love for music is rekindled, but her secret life as a vampire is threatened. The themes are living versus survival, outcast, music, and family. And this is such a creative blend of things. I don't usually gravitate to fantasy, but when people have just reached and pulled things together in this manner, it seems kind of compelling. Read-alikes would be The Vanished Birds by Simon Jimenez. Time-traveling ship captain with nothing much to live for takes in a scarred boy, enabling them both to experience family for the first time. And The City by Dean Koontz is a story of a coming-of-age story of a musical prodigy with similar elements related to music, friendship, and family, and of course the supernatural, as it is Dean Koontz.
Also here.
Patrick had fun. He was asking me if I knew of any other Chinese American vampire musician janitor books. I'm like, yeah, I got that one.
Gee whiz. You didn't?
No.
There must not be any there.
Clearly I'm trying for it.
Okay. A Mystery by Stephen Amadon is Locust Lane. A young woman is found dead in a New England suburb. The three teenagers who were with her are the primary suspects, and the parents seek to protect their kids at all costs. The main character, however, whose own daughter died of a drug overdose, had seen a man hiding in some trees by the victim's house, and it wasn't one of the three suspects. Read-alikes would be Girl in Snow by Danya Kukavka. Secrets revealed after a 15-year-old girl is found dead in a sleepy Colorado suburb. Or Big Little Lies by Leon Moriarty. Follows three mothers each at a potential crossroads and their potential involvement in a riot at a school trivia night that leaves one parent dead.
Really good, actually, is a debut novel from a comedy writer who worked on Schitt's Creek and currently works for Working Moms, which is a Netflix series, which I am a huge fan of, so that intrigued me to this. Really good, actually, focus on Maggie. She's fine. She's really good, actually. Maybe she's a little broke. Maybe her thesis is a little obscure and kind of philandering, and she's a young divorcee, one of those marriages where you blink and it's over. And now at the age of 29, she's determined to start her life anew. She's taken up new funny hobbies, she's eating adventurously, she's dating again, and her group chat is her free therapy. She's questioning all her decisions she's made up leading to this point and wondering in laugh out loud observations how it got to this. So something very lighthearted, promises to be funny. All the reviews, a lot of the people reading it as a preview said it was actually very, very funny. And so that made me think of Sloane Crosley and Christopher Buckley, who also are known for laugh out loud, real life situation styles. And I believe Sloane Crosley also writes nonfiction. So she's got funny essays to check out if you need a good laugh. Maybe. Sorry, Dan.
Okay, All the Dangerous Things by Stacy Willingham is a suspense novel. This one is a gripping, thought-provoking thriller with twists and turns to keep you guessing. Aside from the occasional quick nap, Isabel Drake hasn't slept since the day her toddler was kidnapped from his crib a year ago. She remains determined to find her son, but after she agrees to be interviewed by a true crime podcaster, his questions, mixed with her insomnia, have her questioning her own memory of what happened. Rita likes would be Local Woman Missing by Mary Kubica, and The Chain by Adrian McKinty. Local Woman Missing is about a young woman who had gone missing when she was 6 years old, returning 11 years later to the shock of her community. And The Chain is a parent receives a panicked phone call from a stranger who reveals that both their children have been kidnapped by someone who demands that they abduct another child to prevent the murders of their own.
The Mitford Affair by Marie Benedict is a historical fiction set during the interwar period. The six Mitford sisters dominate the English political, literary, and social scene. Though they weathered scandals before, the family begins to fall apart as one of the sisters divorces to marry a leader in the new German Nazi party. A well-detailed, thought-provoking story of how sensible people can get sucked into radical action. The first read-alike I have is Shrines of Gaiety by Kate Atkinson. It's also set during the interwar period in England. It is a delirious new nightlife has arisen in London and the clubs of Soho, and where peers of the realm rub shoulders with starlets and all sorts of other people, and girls are selling dances for a shilling. Our protagonist is the queen of this glittery new world. Her name is Nellie Croker, and she's a ruthless mother, or a ruthlessly ambitious mother of 6. So it's her climb to power. The other read-alike I have is Lady Clementine, also by Marie Benedict. It is the fictionalized story of Clementine Churchill just after her marriage to Winston and going through the First World War, the interwar period, and the Second World War, and how she carries him through.
And it's a good book.
Yes.
Excellent.
And don't know where that came from.
Why do you have that one?
This one?
It's good.
It's not me.
Ghost Music is the second novel from Ann Yun. Her first was Braised Pork. She really got a lot of great reviews about it. Braised Pork is about a mysterious disappearance, and although she's classified as literary fiction, it looks like her books are very mysterious too. So it takes place in contemporary Beijing. Main character's song is a piano teacher. She's married. She's experiencing a reoccurring dream set in a doorless room. She's after her husband because she's ready for a baby. Husband insists he's not ready yet. His mother, so Song's mother-in-law, comes to visit from southwestern China. She's also campaigning for a grandchild. She's getting impatient. So while she's in town, mysteriously, a parcel of mushrooms that is native to where the mother-in-law's from shows up on the doorstep. They can't figure out who it's from, but they said these are gonna go bad if we wait much longer. And Song and her mother-in-law begin cooking. They don't figure out who has sent them until one day, a letter from the mushroom center arrives, and Song's life takes a turn for the surprising. So read alikes, check out her previous work if you need something similar while you're waiting for ghost music. And then I also picked up Little Gods, which is mysterious, interesting characters, surprise ending, set in contemporary Beijing. The next one is Central Places. This one's a debut novel. Main character Audrey's past and present are gonna collide when she takes her fiance to meet her parents. Audrey left the tiny Illinois town where she grew up as soon as possible, the second she graduated high school. Didn't really like to venture back. She moved to New York and started living what she thought was her fantasy life. She's got a high-paying job, it's high stakes, high pressure. She loves her fiance, he's darn near perfect. But once they're engaged, at his urging and her parents' urging, they decide to get together, and she decides to go back to that small town in Illinois. Sorry. Returning to that small town is complicated. Her parent relationship is strained, and she hasn't done a great job of keeping in touch with anybody, and during their visit, she's surprised by a former crush. Over a disastrous week, Audrey begins to examine her past and her future and question if she's on the right path for herself. So read alikes to me, Kaleidoscope, off the new shelf, is about two sisters to begin with and surprising circumstances and a fantastical turn that life can take. In 5 Years from a couple years ago, Rebecca Cyril's a really good one. It also kind of has that turning doors theme of what would your life be like had you made a different decision, had you woke up and things all been different. So surprising family stories.
The Daughters of Izdiar by Hadir El-Sbai, is a new epic fantasy. It is a debut novel. It is set in a wholly new world inspired by modern Egyptian history. Our protagonists are Nihal, a seemingly well-to-do aristocrat, and Georgina, a poor bookseller. The two women find themselves connected in a strange way when Nihal is forced to marry a wealthy merchant who is in fact in love with a poor bookseller. These two women discover that they have more in common than they think, but their problems seem small as their nation is challenged by their neighbor who threatens to destroy the kind of magic these two women practice. It's been described by a lot as having a very unique and interesting magical system, an intricate plot, and it is described quite frequently as a dazzling debut. The first read alike I have with similar female characters is The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. It is also set in a unique world inspired by the history and epics of India. It features a captive princess and a maidservant in possession of forbidden magic, and they become unlikely allies on a dark journey to save their empire. It is the first in the Sinking Empire series. And then the other read-alike I have is The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke, which also features a unique magic system. Terrain is a soldier, and Luca is the niece of the king. Through assassination, massacre, and intrigue, Terrain and Luca will haggle over the price of their nation in an effort to save it. though they discovered that some things are not for sale. So, finally, Donovan Jumps the Gun. It's by Ella, by that person. It is a cozy mystery of sorts, where Finlay and the two protagonists are back in this installment. It starts with a V. I'm not gonna try. Are back in this third installment to sleuth out a contract killer in order to free themselves from the clutches of the Russian mob, to whom they owe a favor. This is all while dodging spies, their past, and juggling the daily struggles of parenthood. So usually I like to try to pick two different items for read-alikes, but this is actually a relatively new series. So I have the first two in the series for you to catch up on. Sorry, I'm also turning backwards. The first one is Finlay Donovan is Killing It, and the second is Finlay Donovan Knocks Him Dead. These both introduce you not only to the characters and the world, but also the author's writing style. And then we have some nonfiction.
On Savage Shores is going to explore the influence that Indigenous Americans had on Europe. Because back when Columbus was sailing, he wasn't the only one traveling. It's going to be a new narrative for us. Tens of thousands of Aztec, Mayan, Tonocs, Inuits, and more were traveling abroad. Some did not have much choice in the matter and were slaved by others, but many of these cultures ended up in Europe and explored there. There are plenty of interesting accounts of the interactions that took place, whether entertaining at royal court or being on display for the public or having some interesting role-playing exercises. I think there's one case where they demonstrate what their life is like for the royal court. There's all sorts of interesting stories that happened and unfolded when the Indigenous Americans traveled to Europe. The author will surprise most of us with information we've never heard and tell us some of these very interesting tales, and she has examples of how the cultures influenced one another, even though we always think about Europe's influence. This is a new take. Pennock is considered an expert in this area, an expert on these cultures. She studied at Oxford, and she now lectures at a University of Sheffield in Yorkshire, England, and she appears as a historian for the BBC, Netflix, and the Science Channel. So she's got a great reputation. In a similar topic, Tony Horwitz's A Voyage Long and Strange, Rediscovering, talks about the travels that were going on at this time. And it's also for fans of Jared Diamond's Guns, Germs, and Steel, The Fates of Human Societies, as it explores topics and influences and how one thing affects another in a surprising way. I also have Myth America. So this is a collection of different essays compiled by these two editors and writers. Kevin Krause and Julian Zelster are both historians and lecturers, professors I should say, at Princeton. So they've collaborated before on a couple projects. I believe their most recent is Fault Lines. And Fault Lines is a history of the United States since 1974. But this one in particular has assembled a bunch of essays from people who are experts in their fields to debunk popular myths about our history. The goal is to fight misinformation and the bad history epidemic that's going around, they say. They will dispel misinformation around the New Deal, the Great Society, hostile immigrants, and anti-family feminists, and more. They want to replace myths with information and research and reality. So if you're intrigued, check out previous works by the author. This sounds to me like By Hands Now Know, Jim Crow's Legal Executioners, about reflecting back on past times when we have more information, more experts, more context to give a situation fresh eyes.
group on earth to talk about this book in front of in this room of lifelong learners. Outsmart Your Brain by Daniel Willingham. Mr. Willingham is a cognitive scientist and a professor of psychology. And this book is being marketed as a kind of user's guide to your brain and is essentially about how the brain learns. Highly informative and accessible, Outsmart Your Brain is helpful for both teachers and students of all ages. The book explains why traditional study methods do not work and gives lots of practical tips for learning and retaining new information. Kirkus calls it highly informative and inspiring, a must-read for students of any age. These read-alikes are Grasp by Sanjay Sarma, which is a book that looks at the science of how we learn, evaluates traditional classroom methods, and offers practical tools for absorbing and retaining information over time. And Limitless by Jim Quick, a book about unlocking one's potential by learning how to learn things more effectively.
Continuing on with the brain train, we have Awe, The New Science of Everyday Wonder and How It Can Transform Your Life by Dr. Dashner Keltner. He's looking to answer the question of how do you quantify the goosebumps that you feel when you stare out at the Grand Canyon, or the amazement of seeing a child walk for the first time. He presents a radical and deeply personal investigation into this elusive emotion and its impact on our physical well-being. It's being described as the must-have sociology book coming out next year. The first read-alike I have is How Emotions Are Made by Dr. Lisa Feldman Barnett. She is leading the charge on understanding where emotions come from, and it is her theory of how emotion is driving deeper understanding of the mind and brain and shedding new light on what it means to be human. The other read-alike I have is off of the new shelf. It is The Neuroscience of You by Dr. Chantel Pratt. It is a tour of the meaningful ways that our brains are dissimilar from one another. Her field-leading research employs cutting-edge technology and reveals that, as complicated as it may be, no two brains are alike. And both of these and Awe are being described as very accessible, which is really important. I'm sorry, I missed that in the notes. Our next one is How Medicine Works and When It Doesn't, Learning Who to Trust to Get and Stay Healthy by Dr. Perry F. Wilson. It is blending personal anecdotes and hard science. Dr. Perry Wilson is an accomplished physician and researcher, and he's pulling back the curtain on medicine and medical research, revealing how progress is made and how to rebuild trust between doctors and patients in this riveting and well-researched book. The first read-alike I have is When Doctors Don't Listen by Dr. Lena Wen and Dr. Joshua Kosowski. It shows in this revealing expose that even the best doctors receive medical training that steers them away from listening to their patients and towards inefficient methods for arriving at an accurate and timely diagnosis. The other read-alike I have is Uncaring by Dr. Robert Pearl. Dr. Pearl shines a light on the unseen and often toxic cultures of medicine, and it illuminates the complex and intimidating world of medicine for readers and offers a clear plan to save American healthcare. Because I like to end on a happy note, our last title is Koalas, A Natural History and an Uncertain Future by Danielle Claude. It's jumping into the extraordinary world of koalas with an Australian biologist in vivid descriptive prose. She embarks on a delightful and surprising journey through their evolutionary history to help us learn more about these complex and mysterious animals. I personally like to describe them as the teenage boys of the animal kingdom. They don't like to get up often, they only eat one thing, and they generally look a little bit grumpy. Just my personal thought. My first read-alike is The Tasmanian Devil. It is a remarkable story of a controversial and surprising creature. This book seeks to dispel myths and prejudice, and it is the first book published on the Tasmanian Devil, and it takes the reader on an amazing journey into this complex and robust marsupial. The other one is thank you. Australia's Enigma. Despite belonging to one of the oldest surviving groups of mammals on the planet, most of us have no idea what this animal is. This book is not only reveals facts, but also corrects decades of myths surrounding these versatile and tenacious creatures. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Our next Books in Focus will be on January 10th. I also went ahead and passed out copies of our new reading list for our book discussions for 2023. Again, thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you. Are there any books anybody would like?